I gotta wake up at 5 o'clock because we got school tomorrow.
High school. A social sanctuary of fun times and development for some, and an absolutely dreadful nightmare for others. A part-time prison where we spend some of the most developmental years of our lives, and a place where a lot of people peak. From nerds to unpaid comedians, these are the types of kids in high school. Now, I know times have changed since I was in high school. A lot of new breeds are out there, like the influx of suburban wannabe gangbangers, bathroom vape fiends, and waiting for my 18th birthday so I can drop my OnlyFans girls. But really, all these kids are just evolutions of their predecessors. So first up, we got the nerds. These kids typically have a small circle of other nerds and typically keep to themselves. Now, there are subcategories in nerds, such as the one nerd that is good at like a sport or something, so he's kind of cool with kids outside of his nerdy friend group, and slightly more social than their pimple popping counterparts, but still a nerd. And then there's the ultra nerd. This is the one that no one likes. Always has something to say in a conversation that they were never a part of, and always a smartest remark that makes you want to hang them from a tree by their underwear. This is the nerd emoji kid, okay? That's what this is. Nobody likes this kid. Please don't meet this kid. And similarly, we got the teacher's pet. The kid that always sits right up front with a million note pages before the class even starts that won't let you fucking copy off their shit. Hey bro, could I copy your homework? What? You didn't do it? Nah, that's why I'm asking to copy yours. Absolutely not. Why should you get graded well on something you didn't work for yourself? Just do the homework next time. It's not hard. This kid always has to make a comment on every fucking thing the teacher says, and of course, always has to remind the teacher about the homework. Even a lot of teachers hate these kids. They're like fucking mosquitoes, annoying and useless. Unlike this next one, the class clown. This kid was like Iron Man at the end of Avengers Endgame, snapping away his future for the sake of making everyone laugh. Always getting into shit, being called to the principal's office, and from personal experience, having their desk moved into the hallway for the entire semester. A villain to the teachers, but a hero to the students. You could be having a terrible day and walk into your next class and see this kid, and just know if you were going to enjoy anything about today, it was going to be this next period. Which brings us to the roasters. Now, the class clown and the roaster can be the same person, but they're not always the same person. The roaster is the kid you want to keep a low profile with, but not too low because they might make fun of you for that too. The roasters will pull up to school and immediately scan the room for victims before the day is even started. The roaster, unlike the class clown, is either the most loved or hated person depending on who you're asking and what day you're asking them. Absolutely hilarious and can send you home on a stretcher with cramps throughout your entire abdominal region until the day they pick you as their victim. And that becomes the day you start looking for a new city to move to. And God forbid this kid comes to school in a bad mood. But I gotta say, some of the best moments in high school are when two of the most notorious roasters go at it in the cafeteria. It's truly a Valley of the End style exchange. But speaking of change, next up we got the beggar. Commonly found in cities with some type of fairly used public transportation system, this kid will typically be walking around asking for change for the bus. Or for some other reason. I guess you could call this kid a hustler, but I feel like that's a little disrespectful to the real hustler. Which is who we got up next, the hustler. This kid has spent countless hours in the lab cooking up his next big scheme. These kids are the Ed, and Eddies of high school. Always looking for the next come up, and honestly, I gotta respect it. Whether it's slipping snacks or food, cutting hair in the bathroom, moving some gas, these kids got what you need, and usually for a pretty great price. And speaking of price, next up we got the drip god. These kids come from a variety of backgrounds, whether it's just growing up with some money, running through their first job like a hooker outside of 7-Eleven, or some other form of getting to the bag. This is the kid that pops out dripping like an R. Kelly victim every single day. Okay, but seriously, this kid will have a different fit for every day of the month, let alone the week. And while most of us realize by our senior year that no one really gives a fuck, you gotta respect the dedication to staying fly. And speaking of the drip god, next up we got the sham god. No, not that. I mean the sham god, because this is the kid who's always rocking some bullshit. The AliExpress king. This is the kid rocking Supreme with a fake hoodie. Now, I totally get not wanting to spend a shit ton of money on designer, especially as a high school kid, but this kid can just style some Walmart gear. There's no reason to be pretending your outfit is worth $1,200 when it's really worth $12 with a pack of stickers and a juice box. Next up, we got the 304s, the school thotties. There's not much to say for these girls, honestly. Meet them in the staircase between 12:45 to 2:45 p.m., throw a coin down there, and make a wish, and maybe you'll get lucky. And most of these girls that are already out of high school have multiple children with multiple baby dads right now. And to throw in the mix, we got the loud and ratchet girls. Some of these girls fit into the last category, others maybe not, but regardless, this is the last girl you want to see when walking into the solid structural foundation that is your high school. Because for some reason, no matter what ungodly hour your school decides is the best time to bend over and fuck your circadian rhythm to make sure you become a great contributing member to society, these girls will always be there. And they will always be loud. I could show up to school at 7:45 in the morning to the early breakfast program carts for a grilled cheese and a chalky milk, only for my eardrums to be penetrated repeatedly by the sounds of what only could be described as a dying bird getting fucked in the ass by a horse. These girls usually laugh way too loud at everything, clap their hands at every comment, and stomp their feet way too often. These girls also usually get offended too early by things and start screaming before they know who's talking to who or what anyone is talking about. And it's usually best to avoid eye contact with them. And speaking of screaming, next up we got the goth slash emo slash school shooter slash loner kid. Now I grouped all these ones up because honestly, for the most part, they're all pretty fucking similar. And really, I've never been brave enough to get close enough to really know the difference. Okay, but seriously, as for my personal experience, the emo and goth kids were few and far between, but we had a couple sprinkled around, and honestly, for the most part, they're just pretty weird. I mean, it varies between the ones who just seem weird and don't really care to bother anyone, to the ones who want to be weird a little too much, like trying too hard to be different. But for the most part, emo kids are whatever. Probably not the best enemies to have though, considering what they may be capable of. But the quiet loner kid, that's a little different. To be fair, some kids just want to get their shit done and go home. I completely relate to that, but it's a quiet kid who only ever opens his mouth to share his extremely negative opinion on society and never speaks again for 6 months that you gotta watch out for. And speaking of loner, next up we got the loner, with an S and a T, the stoner. Next up we got the stoner. This kid is a stoner. Almost every time you see this kid, they are usually high as shit and always down to get some of whatever snacks you got. And stoner kids are usually just pretty chill, but probably won't be much help in the classroom setting. But they're great to have around for extracurriculars. And speaking of extracurriculars, next up we got the athletes. And no, I'm not talking about the hood kid on the basketball team that would have made the league if he kept his grades up. I mean the pure athlete. These kids live and breathe school sports. Whether it's track or football or whatever the fuck it is, this kid always looks like they're about to run a 400 meter no matter what class they're in. Sports gear on, always has a water bottle, constantly getting called out of class for sports shit. And who can forget the hoodie hanging out of the backpack while walking down the hall with both thumbs in each backpack strap? Now, I don't know what type of Riverdale high schools you guys might have gone or go to, but from my experience, athletes usually aren't really dickhead bullies. They just play sports and might be a little more popular because of it. Now, maybe certain star players who get city or nationwide clout are a different story, but overall, most athletes in high schools were just known for being athletes, at least from my own experience. But speaking of hood kid, next up we got the hood kids. Now, my high school was situated in the ghetto, surrounded by multiple ghettos, making a large portion of the kids hood kids. But of course, there's plenty of other types of kids, so it's still going to be a category, and plus there's plenty of kids from the hood that you probably wouldn't really put in the hood kid category. But these kids usually spend time fucking around, skipping class, and robbing you if they feel like it. They roam the hallways a lot and get in trouble a lot. They usually dank a gas, and sometimes come to school with an ankle monitor. To be honest, most of the time, these kids just show up to school to find fun shit to do. And then, of course, we got the troublemaker, the real menaces of high school. These kids don't just come to school looking for fun. These kids come to school looking for nothing but pure chaos. Any and every chance they get to make the day feel like a Batman episode, they will take the chance. Pulling the fire alarm, throwing things in school assembly, starting food fights, whatever they can come up with to cause the most havoc possible, and then almost always disappearing into the crowd without a trace. And if you don't know them, they may be hard to spot at first, but once you do, you start to notice the trail of evil snail slime they leave at every crime scene. This is the kid that will slap a girl's butt in front of you and run away for you to deal with the consequences. Just pure evil. And speaking of crime scenes, next up we got the weird couple. Okay, I don't know how crime scenes relate to this, but whatever. This couple is the worst. It's fucking gross. No one cares how much you love each other, okay? Go to the fucking park and go behind a tree or something at least. This couple is always in the halls fucking pushing each other into lockers while passionately making out like they're in 50 Shades of Grey. Like, just chill out, bro. Just wait, honestly. If you're dating someone who goes to your fucking high school, you will literally see them tomorrow. Why are you rubbing noses like fucking golden retrievers in the middle of the hallway? And no one wants to see that. We had this one couple at my high school that would literally just full on lay out on the floor in the busiest hallway of the school and just make out. Like, come on, bro. Just go to the bathroom with the vape fiends, please. I'm begging you. And speaking of excessive PDA, next up we got the opposite of that. The where's my hug kid. This is the kid that runs into girls they know in the hallway and always has his thinking cap on, ready to ask the deepest of questions to be asked in deep question history. Where's my hug? And this kid is almost always met with an awkward forced smile and a comment to get them to give up on their endeavors. But seriously, bro, if you gotta ask where your hug is, then just maybe it's because your hug isn't there to begin with. And you should just move on. Because you getting rejected not only sucks for you, but everyone else who can see this in the hallway. And speaking of hallway, the next we got is the hall pass warrior. This kid is always skipping class, always at school, yet always not in class. And somehow, this kid will almost always have a hall pass or some type of excuse to fault his 5-hour hallway escapade. And to go with that, we got the ghost kid. My personal preference when it comes to skipping class. This kid just never shows up. And when he does, it's like seeing a leprechaun. A lot of the time you forget this kid is even enrolled at your school until they randomly show up one day for what feels to be no reason, because they usually just disappear again right after. But I mean shit. Personally, in my opinion, if you're gonna skip, you may as well skip the whole thing. What Kodak said.
Yeah, I was skipping in the hallway, I was skipping school.
And speaking of skipping, next we got the kid who skipped grad. The lap runner. Next up we got the lap runner. Whether they failed a bunch of shit or maybe they just want to pull up their grades for college or university, these kids are, well, they're not kids. They're adults. Now, I'm not going to shame anyone for trying to finish school or whatever. You do what you got to do. But if you're 18 or above, just stop trying to fuck with the freshman kids, bro. It's weird. You're pushing 20. Look for a girlfriend somewhere else after the bell rings. And next up, we got the can I get a pencil kid. This kid never comes to school with any school supplies. This kid either has an empty backpack of absolutely nothing or a whole bunch of bullshit, but never anything school related. They got all types of snacks, weed, extra clothes, random papers they don't know where they got from, but no pencils or books or nothing. That or like gum and some old homework they didn't do.
Alright, so I start school tomorrow. Don't be asking me for no pencil, no paper, no gum. None of that. That's so fucking chopped. When I come with a Gatorade or Arizona, don't say, let me get some of your juice. Bro, I'm tired. I just got out of the gym. I'm hot. My nigga, you could die. I do not care. Don't ask me for nothing.
And then you got the band kids, which I mean, do I really need to explain that? These kids are like if you took a random generator of character traits and spun it, except all the options are weird. And then we got the anger management kid. This kid is angry and has trouble managing it. Usually this kid will get into fights with the teacher over any and everything and will snap like the fucking Hulk over almost anything. Flip his desk, run into the hall screaming, hit the lockers. I don't know how common this is, but I'm sure most schools have at least a couple of these kids. And then we got the only popular on social media girl, who doesn't talk almost at all, and you can't tell if she's socially awkward or just a bitch. And then there's the girls who will never do a class presentation to save their life. I mean, they seem to talk a lot of confidence otherwise, but bring up a class presentation and they check out like they have a flight to catch in 20 minutes. And yeah, and then there's the TikTok kids. This era started like my last year of high school or so, and honestly, nothing made me more sick than watching a bunch of kids set up their phones on the window in the cafeteria and start dancing. And then they do it like 20 times over because they need to get the right video. I'm assuming that's pretty normal now, so yeah, it sucks for you guys. Oh yeah, and then there's the Neb. I don't mind the name, it just sounds right. But this kid is just pretty fucking chill. Cool with just about everybody in any group, has a main group of friends, but usually ventures out throughout the day, and no one really dislikes this kid. The Neb. Be the Neb. Or I guess be whoever you want. But the Neb is pretty cool. But yeah, this was some of the types of kids in high school. Let me know any I might have missed and what type of new hybrids there are in schools now. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Here.